Hey guys, how you doing today? Today I'm going to be going over what the differences are between Credit Karma and MyFICO. My name is roddywalker. I like to go over financial / motivational tips, basically anything that helps you guys grow your life. So today I'm going to be basically going into both these apps. I got them pulled up on my phone. Let's go over into this. I like to keep a little folder for all my credit applications. The two ones that I'm talking about today that I mainly use is Credit Karma and MyFICO. So let's talk about Credit Karma first, because most people have probably heard about Credit Karma. So we go into my Credit Karma app right here and we see that TransUnion is at 731 and Equifax is at 728. Wow, that's pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with that score, right? Now, you got a lot of different features in Credit Karma. Like right when you look in it, you see that you have this credit option that lets you look in here and look at your credit health, which is very helpful for people understanding how your credit score is created. As you can see, you got 6 factors that determine your credit. You got your hard inquiries, you got your age of credit, you got your credit utilization, payment history, derogatory marks, and total of accounts. Each of these make up a section of how they score your credit. How you rank in certain areas is going to determine on how high your score is. So as you can see, in 4 categories, I am in green, which is a good category. It's considered good. Now, super green is like exceptional. To be exceptional, you have to have 21 plus accounts open to have exceptional in that credit ranking. It shows that I have 13, so I'm still in the good, but I'm not in the exceptional yet. So that's how the total accounts would work. That's how much credit. And this is car loans, this is credit cards, this is anything that has to do with credit. It's mortgages, it's not just cards. So just remember that too. Payment history is another huge one. Payment history, you need to have a really solid payment history. Now you can see I've only had problems twice, so my payment history is looking pretty good right here. 315 payments out of 317. I did make some mistakes in the beginning, and you can see it hasn't really affected me in the long run. Another big thing is credit utilization. This is a huge factor. So as you can see, I have a total limit of $2,874 of credit that I can spend. But as you can see, I'm only spending about $2,144 out of that. That means that I'm only using 7% of all the credit that I own. That is very important if you want to be in the exceptional range, which I am in this category, which is very doable for most people to get into this category. You just have to be, with all your cards, you have to be barely using 7% of the limit to be in this category. This will jump your score. Remember, guys, this is for every credit bureau. One thing about Credit Karma is they have TransUnion and they have Equifax. Those are the 2 credit bureaus, but they're actually 3, which we'll go over that in a minute, but just remember that. Okay, so things I need to work on is I need to work on my age of credit. I've been working on trying to get a lot of credit established. I just want to get it out of the way. So my oldest account has been 5 years, but the newest account I've had was in the last 2 months, right? That's the last time I got a new card. So I need to work on my age of credit history. I need to, once I get enough, that won't be as much a factor. But I tell people too, don't worry about this as much because it's not as big as credit factor as payment history and credit utilization. Those are the 2 biggest factors. This one will not affect your credit as much if you're getting new credit cards, as long as your credit utilization and payment history is on par. And another thing, inquiries. Inquiries will affect your credit. This is another factor. Your score only goes down 5 to 10 points and it can recover in the next 3 months, usually, maybe even 6 months. But it usually doesn't take that long to recover as long as you're paying off the balances. And you get an inquiry every time you apply for credit, and it's a hard inquiry. That's when they actually pull your credit. If it's a soft inquiry, then they don't pull your credit. They basically have something on file that pre-qualifies you. So you have to be able to know the difference. And most of them are going to be hard pulls. If it means getting another credit card on your belt, a lot of times it's worth it. Do it in spaced times. Like I would get maybe 1 credit card every 3 to 6 months. Take that 5-10 point ding, boom, because you got a new balance. It helps you build up your score. You could go up even more than 5 or 10 points because you added a new account. So that helps you with the account total, which we talked about with that factor. So I'm going to get out of Credit Karma because there's just so much to it. But one thing I want to emphasize before I leave it, Credit Karma, the way they factor their scores is the Vantage 3.0 metric. And the reason why this is important is because that makes the Credit Karma score inaccurate. Let's go ahead and go into my FICO and I can explain more about what I mean by it makes the score inaccurate. So you have my FICO, which my FICO is a $40 a month app. But there's a reason why you're paying $40 a month, because you're getting accurate credit scores. So when we go into my FICO, not only do we see Equifax, TransUnion, we also see Experian, because it's a triplet. There's 3 of them. There's 3 credit bureaus for consumers. There's 3 main ones that report. Each bureau could be used by a different bank. Like Chase could use TransUnion, US Bank could use like Experian and Equifax. When you're applying for different banks, you want to know what credit bureau they use. Now, right off the bat, when we go in here, we see that FICO Score 8. FICO Score 8 is a scoring metric by FICO. And one thing you need to understand about this FICO app and FICO in general is FICO is what lenders use to look up your score. These are the scores they're looking at when they're looking to approve you. So if you go into Credit Karma, you'll notice right off the bat. Let's just go right back into it. Come on, Credit Karma. Okay, so you'll see 731 TransUnion, 728 Equifax. All right, let's go right back into this. Now let's look at Equifax. 657, TransUnion, 698. None of those are even in the 700s. That's a big-ass deal. The reason why that's a big-ass deal is because if you think that you're in the 700s and you're in the 600s and you're trying to apply for things that usually get approved in the 700s, you're going to have a hard time. Now, the only 700 I have in FICO is Experian. You're going to learn a lot today. I'm not lying, guys. You're going to learn a lot. So here's another catch. This FICO Score 8 is just an overall of all your scores averaged together. If you really want to get the real deep down score in this FICO app, this is why it costs $40 a month. It's because you get individual reports from each type of credit. So you got 3 types of main credit. You got mortgages, and as you can see, we go into mortgages and we see the FICO scores in there. Look at that. It's even lower. 624, 663, 630. That means the mortgage FICO score is different than the auto and the credit card FICO score. The mortgage is actually usually lower. It's usually like 20 or 40 points lower than your actual other scores. So if we go into auto loan, boom, it's a little bit higher, right? Equifax is still a little bit low, but TransUnion went a little bit higher and Experian went a little bit higher. And then we'll go into the last one, credit cards, which is more like my specialty. Boom, my credit cards are actually higher credit card scores for my FICO credit card score. The important thing to know about this, guys, is that you actually have different scores for what type of credit you're applying for. So if you're applying for a mortgage, you have your mortgage credit score. If you're applying for an auto loan, you have your auto loan credit score. If you're applying for your credit card, you have your credit card score. So this is very important when applying for stuff because you don't just have one credit score. You have multiple. If you're doing a credit card one, credit card companies actually look at more than one score. Not often, but they sometimes do. So if you look around, you'll see we have FICO 3 score, even a FICO 9 score out. Hold on. It just kind of timed out on me. It probably thinks I'm going crazy and stuff. So let's go right back into there. Okay, so you got FICO 8, FICO 5, 4, and 2. That's all one score. And then you got FICO 3, and then you got FICO 9. It's good to try to do some research and figure out which one of these scores are they looking at for which category you're in. So if you're in credit cards, this is where they mainly do it. They might do it in the auto, I believe, too. Let's just check real quick. Yeah, so auto's got FICO Score 8, you can see, boom. But I'm thinking that in auto, if I remember correctly, I think they mainly use 5, 4, and 2. But as you can see, there are lenders that do look at FICO Score 8 and FICO Score 9. You want to figure out what that lender uses. And then when you go to a mortgage, it's pretty cut and dry. They only use 5, 4, and 2 score. They only actually have a 5, 4, and 2 scores in the mortgage. They don't let you do a FICO Score 8 in the mortgage. They don't let you do a FICO Score 9 in the mortgage. They don't mess around with mortgages. That's like the biggest type of credit you can get. And then credit cards, of course, they got 4 different types of scoring metrics, which we've been over. So FICO Score 8, FICO Score 9, 5, 4, and 2, 3. So those are important to know because you want to see, which FICO score are you looking at? So if I go into my credit card, are you looking at FICO Score 8, TransUnion, or are you looking at FICO Score 5, 4, and 2, Experian? Like, this is going to be a total different outcome when you're applying for things. So this is very important, and this is what my mentor taught me during that time frame. So it's important to learn and try to use these when you're going ahead. Another great thing about this app that makes it worth great money is that you get your credit report, which some of you guys want that paper. Each month, you can pull out your FICO Score credit report, and it will come to you. If you're paying this $40 monthly, you get all 3 bureaus. You get to click into it. And guess what? You get to see your real credit report. You get to see things that lenders get to see. You can see I have 19 accounts in here. Why did Credit Karma say I only had 13? Because they don't have what FICO has. They're not paying attention to it the same way. So you can see, it shows you everything about your accounts. It's important for you to be able to see what the lenders see, because if you're seeing something different than what the lenders see, you're going to think that I can apply for this and that. Okay, so here's another thing I want to show you in the FICO Score 8. The simulator. So you can see if I paid my bills down in the next 24 months, I would be at 742, 748, 756 as an overall FICO Score 8. The overall score with all the 3 scores put together. Like, this is what the simulated score would look like. My goal is to try to get there. My goal is to try to make that happen. The cool thing about the simulator is you can keep adding new variables. Like, this is why it's important to use the simulator before you apply, because it says apply for new credit. Boom. Score automatically went down -5 points. You see, you can change the amount of months. If I applied in 3 months, wow, now the score went up 5 points, 20 points, and 5 points. So the difference between applying now versus 3 months, my score goes up. You can test this and see like, oh, what if I got a student loan? What would that look like? What if I got an auto loan? What would that look like? This little simulator thing is nice and it's accurate because it's FICO. Now, FICO is the number one. Credit Karma uses Vantage 3.0, which is a cool system for scoring because it makes your score look a little better than it is. But lenders are not going to see that, and they're the people that approve you for credit. So you have to understand that this is why it's important to have this app. Now, I didn't want to make the investment at first, guys. I didn't want to, pay all this money up top to some credit card company just to see my credit. I loved Credit Karma. I was a Credit Karma kid, and I loved it. But, when you're playing with the big boys and they can see your score for what it really is, you got to be able to understand it as well. So one more thing I want to go over, I think this is how I'm going to wrap up the video, is just another way of showing the credit factors in a better way that FICO does it than Credit Karma. So when you go into your insights, which is just this wheel thing that you just swipe up, you have those credit factors that I was talking about. And here there's 5 that control your score. So you got your payment history and your amount of debt, which is the utilization one I was talking about. So these are the 2 biggest factors. You can see how they're the biggest pieces on the wheel. These 3 smaller pieces are length of credit history, amount of new credit. Because your length of credit history has to do with the average amount that your accounts have been open. So if you have new ones, it messes with your oldest account's average. So your average gets smaller when you get new accounts when you have older accounts. So that's one thing to factor in as well. So it's good to actually get a bunch of accounts as much as you can, as soon as you can, if you want your average accounts to be long, because you have to keep getting new ones every year. It's not going to totally hurt your credit, by the way. Like, I've learned that this doesn't kill your credit, but it is going to affect it. As long as you're adding new accounts and your payment history is flawless, you never missed a payment, you're always on time, and think of your limits as if you could only spend, if you had $10,000, but I'm only going to let myself spend no more than $100 on that account. Now, you guys are probably wondering, like, what the hell? Like, that's weird. But that's good practice, especially if you're new to credit. You need to be using the least amount of money as possible. I'm using 8%. So, like I told you, I have like $30,000 I could spend in credit right now. I'm only spending around $2,000 out of that $30,000. Because it impacts your score. It makes a big difference. So look at this credit factor wheel. You can see that each one is for each bureau too. Like, you can look at Equifax, you can look at TransUnion, you can look at Experian, because sometimes they're different. Depending on what you apply for, you can get denied on one and not the other. And it's important to understand this kind of stuff. So guys, I realize that I took a lot of your time today, and if you stayed till the end of this video, I really appreciate that. Please let me know what you thought about this video in the comments. Please let me know if you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe. If you got any value out of this, hit that notification button, see what kind of videos are coming out later. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you have any more questions, I'd love to answer them, so just pop them in the comments, guys. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming today, and I'll talk to you soon.